From childhood, we are taught van goedaan die wil. We learn that certain actions are inherently virtuous, others inherently sinful. We build our societies, our laws, and our personal identities around these deeply ingrained moral judgments. But have you ever paused to truly question their origin? Where did these universal truths, these absolute definitions of good and evil, really come from? For Friedrich Nietzsche, this was not a trivial question, but the most crucial inquiry of all. He dared to challenge the very foundations of Western morality, to strip away its veneer of divine or timeless origin, and to expose its deeply human, all too human psychological and historical roots. He believed that understanding this genealogy of morality was essential for anyone seeking true self-overcoming. This isn't about promoting immorality. It's about intellectual honesty and radical self-awareness. It's about recognizing the hidden forces that shape our values, allowing us to forge a more authentic and life-affirming existence. Get ready for Nietzsche's moral revolution. Nietzsche's most direct and provocative exploration of morality comes in his work on the genealogy of morality. Here, he doesn't merely describe existing moral systems. He performs a historical and psychological investigation into how our concepts of good and evil came to be. He argued that moral values are not eternal, divinely ordained truths, but human creations that evolved in response to specific power, dynamics, and psychological needs. He begins by contrasting two fundamental types of morality: master morality and slave morality. There are master and slave moralities. The noble type of man regards himself as a determiner of values. He does not need to be approved of. Beyond good and evil master morality, this is the morality of the strong, the noble, the powerful, the self-affirming. It originates from a position of inner strength and self-respect. Good is defined by what the master himself is: strong, brave, proud, truthful, independent. Bad is simply what is not him: weak, timid, vulgar, common. It is a creative, self-driven morality where value is affirmed from within. Slave morality. This is the morality of the weak, the oppressed, the suffering, those who lack power. It is a reactive morality born out of ressentiment, as we discussed in our previous video. Evil is initially defined by what the slave resents: the powerful, the master, their strength, their pride. Good is then invented as the opposite of this evil: humility, patience, pity, kindness, obedience. This morality is a psychological compensation, a way for the weak to gain a sense of moral superiority over their oppressors. Nietzsche argued that through a historical slave revolt in morality, slave morality eventually triumphed, largely due to its appeal to the masses and its adoption by Christianity. This led to a profound transvaluation of values, where the original good strength, nobility, became evil, and the original bad weakness, humility, became good. The slave revolt in morality was, for Nietzsche, one of the most cunning and successful psychological revolutions in human history. It allowed the weak to indirectly triumph over the strong by imposing a new moral framework that deemed their own qualities virtuous and the qualities of their oppressors sinful. It was the Jews who, with frightening consistency, dared to invert the aristocratic value equation, and who clung with the teeth of the most profound hatred, the hatred of the powerless, to this inversion, namely to this formula: only the suffering are good. Only the poor, powerless, lowly are good. Only the suffering, deprived, sick, ugly are pious and blessed. While you noble and powerful ones, you are forever evil, cruel, lustful, insatiable, godless, you will also be the unblessed, the cursed, the damned for all eternity. On the Genealogy of Morality. This inversion of values, driven by ressentiment, had profound and lasting consequences, guilt and conscience. Nietzsche believed that the concept of guilt and a bad conscience were largely products of slave morality, internalized mechanisms to control human, animal instincts and punish pride. Denial of life, slave suffering, asceticism, and afterlife often led to a denial or devaluation of the present, earthly life and its vibrant, sometimes brutal, energies. The herd's moral authority, once established. Slave morality became the dominant voice of the herd, enforcing conformity and punishing those who dared to embrace master values. In our modern world, while explicit religious dogma might have waned, the echoes of this slave morality persist. We often demonize ambition, success, or pride, while glorifying victimhood, weakness, and passive acceptance. Social media can become a battleground for these moral forces, where public shaming and cancel culture are tools to enforce a dominant, often reactive, moral code. This can be a modern form of the slave revolt, where collective resentment is weaponized. This doesn't mean Nietzsche endorsed cruelty or unethical behavior. Rather, he critiqued the origins and consequences of certain moral systems, arguing that they ultimately led to a decline in human vitality and creative potential. He questioned whether a morality born from resentment could ever truly foster genuine human flourishing. If traditional good and evil are rooted in psychological history and power dynamics, what does this mean for us? Nietzsche's project wasn't to destroy all morality, but to inspire a transvaluation of all values, a re-evaluation, and, if necessary, a creation of new values that are life-affirming, authentic, and born from strength. Be a philosopher with a hammer. Don't passively accept moral truths. Critically examine every value you hold. Ask, what is the origin of this value? Does it affirm life or deny it? Does it empower me or weaken me? Embrace, master, morality internally, cultivate inner strength, self-respect, and creative will. Define your good not in reaction to others, but as an expression of your highest self. This involves courage, honesty, and a willingness to stand for your convictions. What is good? All that enhances the feeling of power, the will to power, power itself, in man. What is bad? All that proceeds from weakness, the Antichrist. Beyond good and evil for yourself, recognize that universal, absolute good and evil as taught by slave morality are constructs. This frees you to judge actions based on their consequences for life, growth, and genuine human flourishing rather than rigid, predetermined categories. This is not moral relativism, but a call to conscious, responsible ethical creation. Practice affirmation and creation amor fati. Focus on building, creating, and affirming your life in its totality. Your purpose becomes the active expression of your will to power, directed toward becoming who you are, embracing all experiences amor fati. This is the antidote to ressentiment. Nietzsche's moral revolution is an invitation to engage in the most profound and personal form of self-overcoming. It is about stripping away centuries of inherited moral conditioning and daring to ask, what does my strongest, most authentic self truly value? The epochal mind seeks to empower you with this intellectual honesty. In a world of shifting sands and moral ambiguities, understanding the genealogy of good and evil allows you to build a personal, moral foundation that is strong, authentic, and truly life-affirming. So, as you navigate the complexities of modern morality, what moral values do you hold that you've never truly examined? How might your own ressentiment influence your judgments of others? Are you courageous enough to forge your own path, even when it deviates from the herd? How can you begin your own transvaluation of values today? The power to shape your moral universe, to live a life truly beyond good and evil, lies within your grasp. It is time to unleash that power to become the architect of your own values.